Welcome in the 5th episode of our power matching game tutorial. In today's episode we will implement our picture prefab and start to implementing our game scene. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please consider to do so. Hit the subscribe button down below so you will not miss any future videos. Okay, so let's go back to our project and let's open Unity and let's go to the scenes folder and let's open our game scene. So the first thing, we want to add our background image. So I will just right click in the hierarchy, UI and then image, and I will call this image background. I will set the width to be 480 and the height to be 853. So it's going to cover the whole viewport. Okay, and then before we apply any sprite, I will go to the canvas settings, and in the canvas I will select the screen space camera and then drag and drop our main camera on it onto the render camera. Okay, and then in our canvas color I will select the scale with screen size, and I will just change the reference resolution to be 480 by 854. Okay, so the image will be nicely cover the whole scene. And now let's click on our background, and we need to apply the source image. So the source image for the background is in our graphics folder, and then game UI, and then we have our background one. So I just select the background again and then drag and drop it onto the source image. Okay, so we have our background. So now we need to create a few scripts. So I will go to the scripts folder and then right click in the window, create C# script, and I will call this script picture manager, and then one more script which will be right click, create C# script, and then I will call it picture. Okay, so now we need to create our picture prefab. So I will just right click in the hierarchy and then 3D object and then cube, and I will call this cube picture prefab. Okay, so our cube will represent the picture. So we have our picture prefab created. So now let's add the rigid body component. So we just add component and then rigid body. Make sure you select rigid body, not rigid body 2D. And then I will deselect use gravity and select is kinematic. And then let's add one more component. So I will just add another component, which is the audio source. Okay, we will not apply any script yet. So I will just unselect display on awake and then hide this component. And then another thing we want to do, we want to grab our picture script and drop it onto this prefab. Okay, so we have our picture prefab. Don't worry, we don't have a texture yet, but we will apply this texture soon. So now we can go to our asset folder and then right click, create folder, and I will call this folder prefabs. Okay, let's open this project folder and then grab our picture prefab and drop it into the folder. So your picture prefab should change the color to be blue. So that means this is the prefab. So you can just delete this object from the hierarchy, but I'm just gonna keep it for now for the reference. But we can just disable it. Okay. So the next thing we wanna do, we wanna create our game manager as picture manager. So right click, empty game object, and I will just call it with these braces picture manager. Okay, and this picture manager need to have just the script. So we're just gonna grab our picture manager script and drop it onto this game object. So make sure it's assigned like that. And there's one more object which we want to create. Is this object is gonna be called picture spawn position. So I will just right click, create empty, and I will just call it picture spawn position. So this is going to be the position where we want to spawn our pictures, and I'm just going to set the X value to be -2.17, the Y value to be 8, 0.33 and then 0. You can set this position whatever you want, and I'll just change this cube to be yellow maybe. Okay, so as you see, we have our representation nicely here. So we know the position for where we're gonna spawn our picture is this position here, and the picture is gonna be moved on the final position later, so that's gonna be small animation at the beginning of the game. Okay, so let's save everything now, and now let's open our picture manager class. Okay, so inside this picture manager, the first thing we want to reference our picture prefab, so I will just call public picture, and I will call it picture prefab. Okay, so this is going to be assigned from the editor, and then another variable will be public transform picture spawn position. Okay, so that's going to be the position where we want to spawn our picture. Okay, we don't need these comments. And then right below the update method, I'm going to add the private method void, and that's going to be spawn picture mesh, and we need to know how many picture we want to spawn. So we usually gonna pass the number of rows and number of columns, how many we want to have. So int rows and then int columns, then vector2 position, vector2 offset. So this is the gap between the pictures, and then bool scale down. Okay, there's actually one variable which we need right at the top, so this is going to be the public variable, so public, and this is going to be the list of our pictures. Picture list. Okay, and I just gonna add this tag to be hide in the inspector. So this variable is public, but it will not be shown in the inspector because we just specified this tag here. Okay, so this is one way to actually hide your variable to not be visible in the inspector. So I'll just go back to our function spawn picture, and then we want to just put our for loop for int call is equal to 0, call is less than the columns, call plus plus, and then another for loop, so for, and then int row is equal to 0, row is less than rows, I made a spelling mistake here, okay, and then row plus plus. Okay, so we just want to loop through all of the columns and all of the rows, and then I will just create the var temp picture will be equal to, I'm gonna cast to picture, and I'm gonna call the instantiate. So we're just gonna create the object, and we want to pass the picture prefab, and then picture spawn position dot position, okay, and then picture spawn position dot transform dot rotation. Okay, so we just want to create another instance of our prefab based on how many rows we have and how many columns. So the next we want to do the temp picture dot name will be equal to temp picture dot name plus c, like columns, plus col, so that's going to be the number of column, plus r plus row. Okay, so we want to name our temp picture based on which column is and which number, what is the index of the row. And then the next thing, we want to add this picture to our picture prefab list. So this is the picture list. We just want to call this list, call add, and we want to pass our temp picture. Okay, and then I'll create another function right below this one, and this function will be private void move picture, and we want to pass the same int row, int columns, then vector2 position, and then vector2 offset. Okay, and we want to just store the var index to be equal to 0, and then for var column will be equal to 0, then col is less than the columns, and then col plus plus, and then another for loop, so for int row is equal to 0, row is less than the rows, and then row plus plus. Okay, so this loop will be, this function will be responsible to actually move our picture onto the final positions at the start of the game. So we want to create the var target position will be equal to new vector3. Okay, and then inside this vector we want to first of all put the position dot x plus, I will open another braces, offset dot x times row. Okay, then another for the y will be position dot y times column position dot y minus offset, I will just open braces, dot y times column. Okay, make sure you put this one in the brace, and then the last one will be 0.0f. Okay, so we're just gonna get our position, then add the offset times the row number, and then the same for the y position. So we're gonna stack them in the rows and then in the columns. And then we want to do the coroutine, so start coroutine. Okay, and then we want to pass the our move to position function, but this function is not existing yet. So let's quickly create that function before we carry on with this one. So right below I'm gonna create another private, and then I will pass I will return I enumerator. Okay, so in order to use the function inside the coroutine, you need to return this I enumerator, and then move to position, and then vector3 target picture object. Okay, so we want to pass the target position and the picture we want to move, and then I will just create var random distance is equal to 7. You can pass really any number you like. Okay, and then while object dot transform dot position is different than the target position, we want to do the object dot transform dot position will be equal to vector 3 dot move towards. Okay, so make sure you use this function, and then we want to pass the current position, which is going to be the object dot transform dot position, then target position, target, and then we want to pass the distance, so random distance times time dot delta time. Okay, and then yield return 0. Okay, so we have our coroutine function. So now let's carry on with the move picture function. So we're gonna grab this move to position and put inside our start coroutine, and then we wanna pass our first of all target position, which is gonna be target position. Okay, so this is this position which we just created, and then we wanna pass our object, which is gonna be the picture list, and this picture list is gonna be at index. Okay, and because the index is stored outside of the loop, we want to just increase the index after that, so index plus plus. That's it for now, and then let's go back to our start function, and inside the start function, first of all, let's call our spawn picture mesh. Okay, and then we want to pass our row. For the rows I will pass number 4, and columns is going to be 5 columns for now, and then the position will be the start position. I actually going to create another public variable, which is going to be public vector 2, and then I'm going to call it start position will be equal to new vector 2, and I will just put the minus 2.15 f, and then 3.62 f. Okay, you can really put any number you like here. I just putting this number because I've checked already this number, how that's gonna look, and then I will pass the start position here. Then we want to pass the offset, so I will just create another variable. So right below the list I will create the private vector 2, and I will just call it offset will be equal to new vector 2, and this is going to be the offset between the puzzles. So when you're going to move the puzzles, this is the offset between them. So the offset on the X position is going to be 1.5 f, and on the Y position is going to be 1.52 f. Okay, and then we want to grab this offset and move it and pass it to the function, and then scale down. I'm just gonna pass false. I know this parameter doesn't do anything yet, but it's gonna be needed later. Once we spawn all of the pictures, we want to move the pictures to the right position, so I will just call move to position, move picture, and then we want to pass the same number of the row, which is going to be the 4 and 5, then position, which is going to be the start position, and then offset, which is going to be our offset. Okay, so make sure you call all of those functions, and now let's go back to Unity. Let's first of all save everything, save all, and then let's go back to Unity. Okay, so in our game scene, we now need to populate our public variables. So I will just click on our picture manager, and then we want to pass our picture prefab. So let's go to the prefab folder, and let's grab our picture prefab and move it onto the picture prefab field. Then picture spawn position, this is going to be our picture spawn position which we placed in a hierarchy. So I just grab this object and move it into this field, and that's pretty much it. So we can now test. So if you press play, if you first of all switch to the game view and press play, as you see, our pictures are spawned in the right positions, and this is like a very nice animation. Okay, so let's test our game completely. Let's go to our scene folder and then main menu. Make sure you save everything, and then let's play. So when you press play, you select buttons. At the start, all of the pictures are spawned. Okay, they doesn't do anything yet, but we're gonna implement this behavior later. Okay, so everything seems to be working fine. If we try to play again, and then let's create 20 puzzles. As you see, the same number of puzzles is spawned because the game doesn't understand yet the value which you press in the previous scene, but that's something we're gonna fix in the next episode. And also we're gonna apply the graphics onto our puzzles. So thank you very much for watching, and see you again in the next episode.